Welcome back. Now let's talk about a few business developments. And we start here in Nigeria, where the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele, during a summit on the economy, said the official exchange rate now stands at 410 naira to the dollar. That's 7.6% weaker than the rate of 379 naira published on the central bank's website. He said in order to adjust for the decrease in supply of foreign exchange, the naira depreciated at the official window from 305 naira to a dollar to 360 naira to a dollar, and now hovers around 410 naira to a dollar.
We'll also get into a new economic team for Nigeria and African countries getting off the EU's list of tax havens. Now, to really break down all this is none other than Tunji Andrews himself, the financial analyst and founder of Awaba. Tunji joins us once again this morning on Breakfast Central. Tunji, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right.
Great to be with you.
Just as a note, it's a lot of debate, though. All right, well, Tunji, let's start with the comments by the CBN governor that the naira has been devalued. Now, the country has had multiple exchange windows for several years now. How did this devaluation happen?
We're all confused because even as at this morning, in fact, right now, if you look at the website, it still says 379. So it's very confusing with what the CBN governor did say. That is a substantial devaluation adjustment, as you want to say it. But I mean, if you want to look at some of his antecedents, it does happen in this way where there's been times in the past where he said things like, we will not devalue the naira, and then just 2 weeks after, you find out that it has been devalued. So if he does tell you that it is 410 naira, then I think it pays everybody to believe the CBN governor via his statements and not take the official CBN website as the official channel, which it should be, and which of course makes this entire thing very weird, because I'm not entirely sure that they understand the power and the authentic nature of what the CBN website should be.
It's interesting you say that, because again, when we mentioned about the multiple exchange windows, that has been a criticism of his time as CBN governor, the inability sort of to just have one uniform exchange rate so that there's not that. And then, of course, we've seen some of the I'm looking for the word here, some of the leniencies that have gone in different directions. But let's also look at what the data says. We've seen some data that a weaker official rate would actually boost government's naira revenue from crude, which is sold in dollars but converted to naira at the official rate of 379 naira per dollar. Does this work in your estimation? How does it work even?
So in any calculation, a weaker naira will give the federal government more, a weaker naira to the dollar will give the federal government more naira to be able to spend from crude oil sales. It just makes perfect sense. The only problem is that if you look at most of our expenditures, most of them are valued in dollars. So you want to look at things like road rehabilitation. Most of the time, it's actually valued in dollars, and we have to then pay the naira equivalent of it. So if we do devalue, there is the fact that we will still be paying the exact same dollar valuation, except of course we are paying things like wages and salaries in Nigeria. Then of course it does make sense. But you see, my problem isn't the fact that we devalue or not. My problem has always been the structural issues around the Nigerian economy. A weaker currency in your country just means that more people who have stronger currencies will find you attractive to want to come in. And that is a good thing. But the problem I have is the structural problems for Nigerians living in Nigeria, who at one point in the recent past saw the dollar at 199 naira to the dollar, and today are grappling with 410, 470, depending on who you are asking. And for these people, they've automatically become at least 50% poorer than they were in 2013, 2014, and if they're still earning the same amount of naira in Nigeria. So the problems exist for Nigerians, really not much the government, really not much foreign investors. Yes, we will have more naira, but what happens to the average Nigerian on the street? Have we fixed the structural issues? We just saw the supply chain issues with COVID and some of the issues with traders in the north and traders in the south, and then we find that inflation is going through the roof. We're coming to 16% plus at this particular time. So the structural issues continue to linger. So for me, really, I'm not really so hung up about the exchange rate. I'm just really, really concerned about the CBN looking at the structural issues that affect the average Nigerian.
Speaking about the average Nigerian, Tunji, I have to ask you this now. What does the devalued naira mean for that average Nigerian today?
All right, so a lot of people, I've heard people in the past say things like, well, the man in Okuko doesn't use dollars, so it doesn't concern him, which of course is a very silly statement, because the vehicle he uses from wherever he goes to wherever he goes to is bought in dollars and brought into Nigeria, and the spare parts are also bought in dollars and brought into Nigeria. The fuel, PMS, is bought in dollars and brought into Nigeria. The equipment used to make the food that he buys is bought in dollars and brought into Nigeria. So I don't know, except of course you live completely off the grid, the dollar will always affect your daily, day-to-day expenditure. If you are sending your children to school, the school will be buying things that are made, are priced in dollars, and will effectively pass those prices on to you. If you go to the supermarkets, if you buy cereal, you will find out that most of them are priced in dollars and converted to naira. So it just means that the average Nigerian may be still earning 100,000, but is the effective power of that 100,000 is probably now like 65,000 naira, or maybe even less. What it means that the average Nigerian is poorer. In fact, not the average Nigerian, every Nigerian is poorer by every devaluation, which of course is not entirely a problem, as long as the structural supports of the economy remain. So what I mean by structural supports of the economy, so for instance, we have a situation whereby in Nigeria, through the year, we can't find simple things like mango, agbalumo, we can't find simple things like guava, but there are places you go to like Siberia who do not, by the way, plant mango. You would find fresh mango all through the year, and they take it from countries like Nigeria. So you get to wonder that how can they have it when they don't plant it, and we in Nigeria somehow do not have it and we plant it here. So it's those structural issues to make sure that the standard of life of a Nigerian is supported by something, while things continue to move up and down. Their standard of living continues to just be on the same plane.
All right, so let's stay in Nigeria now. President Muhammadu Buhari has established a new team, the National Council on Poverty Reduction, to work on boosting growth and reducing poverty in Nigeria, which is Africa's biggest economy. So, Tunji, before we talk about the new council, let's talk about an old one. In 2019, it was announced that Professor Doyin Salami would lead the Economic Advisory Council, which is aiming to advise on economic policy matters, including fiscal analysis, economic growth, and a range of internal and global economic issues. Now, 2 years later, where is that team before we talk about this new one?
You know what is funny is that I remember celebrating that team because it was a very competent team. I mean, everybody that knows Dr. Doyin Salami's pedigree knows that he's probably one of the best economists we have in Nigeria. You know, we all look up to him as economists. He is also former deputy CBN governor, also a member of the MPC. The problem isn't really the capacity of the team. The team was advisory and entirely advisory. So what they do is advise, send in thoughts on how they believe the government should run. The decision to take or not to take is left entirely to the government, entirely, 120%. This team has no powers at all. They might as well have been senior special advisors. and we saw that because month on month, year on year, you know, things that have been happening within the economy, especially with the CBN, go against the grain of some of the thoughts, the previous thoughts of people like Doyin Salami, who his thoughts were always published with the CBN communique. So for me, I worry. I really worry because I don't see what the new team is going to do that the old team could not do. And I also worry why we did not give them powers to be able to at least take some decisions or move in certain directions or even question the CBN governor, for instance, whenever he makes certain decisions, and be able to at least have him on a debate to clarify why he, for instance, said the naira is at 410 while it shows on the official CBN website, which is a I really need people to understand this. The CBN is an institution. It is bigger than the CBN governor. The website of the CBN is an official platform of that institution. That institution represents the entire monetary policy of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is bigger than the CBN governor. So the CBN governor cannot come out and contradict what is on that website. But, you know, those are the kind of conversations we should be having, but we're not having, basically.
Yeah. All right, Tunji. Now, a report on poverty reduction was submitted to the president by the EAC, and it appears this new council is to see to the implementation of that report. Now, does this country really need a council to oversee the actions to reduce poverty? And the plan is quite an ambitious one, to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty by 2030. That's 9 years. Yet, we know that economic growth has lagged behind population growth rates since 2015. Is this achievable, Tunji?
Is it achievable? Yes. Will we do it? No.
Oh.
I'm very sure we won't do it. Generally because lifting people out of poverty is heavy lifting. It's a job where you are basically creating millionaires, billionaires. You're creating wealth from basically stimulating major parts of the economy. China, for instance, has been minting billionaires for the last two decades or so. It's amazing the amount of billionaires that China has created. But you see, you don't just create them out of thin air. You do several things. First of all, you start at the education point of view. People cannot be wealthy or come out of poverty without simple things like education. There is a multiplier effect of even the girl child in such communities in Nigeria where they are forced into marriage at 14, 15, and then you have a child who then has children, and because she herself did not go to school, she then and she's the primary caregiver of the children, so she's basically raising the children in illiteracy, and then chances that the children will go on to be illiterate and multiply and grow the circle of poverty is greater. So it's not a thing where you just come out and, because at the end of the day, the easier thing and the thing I expect this government and other kinds of Nigerian governments to do is to create some sort of social intervention program where they will be handing out 5,000 or 10,000 naira to Nigerians, which of course we know cannot do anything. But yeah, it's a problem. It continues to be a problem. I don't think it will work as this is not the first time I've heard it from previous governments and even this government. When they are serious about lifting Nigerians out of poverty, it will be clear to all.
All right, Tunji, before we go, we did mention we need to touch base with Morocco and Namibia, which have both been removed from the European Union's list of tax havens after they successfully implemented reforms to bring their tax systems up to the EU's required standards. So very, very quickly, we need you to give us an idea. Where is this tax list, this tax haven list that the EU has? Where is it coming from? And how is it negatively affecting these countries to make them want to make these necessary changes?
Okay, so a tax haven is I could be registered in a particular country and still do business in another country. What it generally means is that I'll be paying my taxes in that particular country. And of course, the EU is saying that they are losing a lot of money to these particular countries, which they put on a blacklist. It's weird and it's very funny because the amount of money being lost to these countries is roughly under is about is roughly under $2 billion, or 2 billion euros, sorry. Okay. And amongst the EU, the tax losses within themselves is almost 40 billion euros. And the funny question is, I just guess what the EU is trying to do is, we don't want anybody outside us to make any money from us. So, you know, it's a case of, we would rather lose money to ourselves than lose money to you, no matter how small. And I honestly understand it. But you see, for me, the thought is, why don't we just develop home? You know, I have problems with you trying to be a tax haven for another country when you've not developed yours. What exactly are you trying to do just because you want to get tax returns from those countries? It just bothers me. It just bothers me top to bottom. But I understand it for a lot of poor countries who need that kind of revenue. Yeah. But I think this should just be a reminder that, you know, if you fixed home, you won't need to be a tax haven to any European country.
Countries like Seychelles, Botswana, Eswatini also on that list, and the list apparently is part of the work of the EU to fight tax fraud and tax evasion.
If you notice, most of these countries look similar in terms of poverty profile and GDP. It's just, they just need money, so they're trying to do anything to make that money.
Interesting use the phrase poverty profile, Tunji. I think I'll let that.
All right, Tunji, we have to let you go now because time is not with us. But definitely a very big thank you to you for joining us today, taking us through. Is the final question, Tunji, yes or no? Is the naira devalued? Because I feel like I'm a bit confused. Did you get a very clear answer? Tunji, is the naira devalued?
I think the answer you have is clear. The CBN governor is not somebody that we rather believe him than believe the site right now, because his antecedents show that he believes is more important than that website.
All right, so we've talked about the naira devaluation. We've also talked about the Nigerian National Council on poverty reduction and Namibia, and of course Morocco getting off the EU tax haven list. We'll be having another conversation with you sometime next week. Tunji Andrews, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, so lots to chew on this morning.
A lot, because when I first looked at that EU list, I didn't consider it in terms of the money that Botswana, Seychelles, and who else is still on the list are actually making as being tax havens. So he now said poverty profile.